Right, my name is Irina Fenner. I work at TIB and I'm here to present our training materials and training sessions that we have developed throughout the course of the project. But really, we are indeed 15 consortium members. So I think a couple of us are here. If you would raise your hands, I'd be very happy, because I think we still have a couple of days to discuss what we've created, and now you know whom to approach, if you like. The work package was kind of structured in a pretty logical way. We worked in 3 steps, and the first step was that we ask ourselves which are actually the standards and requirements that Diamond Open Access journals are faced with regards to technical publication standards. And in order to collect that, we looked at Plan S, EQZIP, which was the predecessor of DORS that was already mentioned today. Then we looked at the DOAJ inclusion criteria and also the open air guidelines. And that whole bunch of standards and requirements, we tried to group it around the FAIR principles. And if you're interested in reading our report on that, do feel free. I think the slides will probably be provided to click at the link or look it up in our Zenodo community, where I think you will find it as well. Then we went to the second step, where we looked at all of these standards and requirements, and we tried to find out which are actually the gaps and the challenges for the Diamond Open Access journals regarding all of these different technical standards. And in order to do that, we looked at literature, of course. We had a couple of case studies. Included in that was Hirčak from Croatia, then the ZAZU Journals platform from Slovenia, Open Edition from France, and also Journal FE from Finland. And then we were also able to look at the results of the DIAMAS survey, DIAMAS being the kind of sister project of craft-oa. And we also had DOAJ data sets. One of them was actually a rejection data set, so we were able to look at the reasons for rejections into the DOAJ, which was pretty interesting as well. And of course, we published all of that in a report as well. So if you're interested, do take a look, click the link or look at Zenodo. And after that, we had a third step where we created training materials and training sessions on implementing technical standards and collected all of that in a toolkit. And if you have a look at the link or scan the QR code, you will end up right at the page that presents everything that we have kind of done within the scope of the project. And you will really see that there's a variety of different things to explore. If you've all scanned the code, I will move on and tell you a little bit about the core topics of the toolkit, which are, according to the previous report, where we grouped the different standards and requirements according to identifiers. So for example, we have a coffee lecture on the use of DOI, SWOR, and ORCID in there. Then we looked at metadata, and we did, for example, a webinar with Crossref. That was pretty nice, and there's a recording of that, and you can have a look at that. Then we have the category of content. So for example, we have material on XML publishing there. Then we have website features and overarching issues, which sounds a bit obscure at first maybe, but it includes something like publishing software, for example, because one of the things that we discovered was that actually a lot of the technical standards could be covered all at once if the journal would use dedicated publishing software, such as OJS, Lodel, or Janeway, for example. And then there's also a fair publishing self-assessment toolkit grid that you can also have a look at. And as I already mentioned, there are different modes of training to kind of cater to different target groups and also maybe types of learners. So we have self-paced courses in there, webinar recordings, simple slide decks, recorded coffee lectures, the self-assessment grid, and even a Git book. And if you're interested in reading a little bit more about our work, I warmly invite you to take a look at the blog post that we recently published that kind of goes into more detail on our work within this work package. And with that, I thank you very much. I'm at the end of my presentation.